I hope that everybody can hear me. This is WINSHUTTLE chaining scripts. It's our web tips for February 2018. My name is Jason King. I'm with Clear Process Solutions. And today we're going to talk about, as the title mentions, chaining scripts in version 11. And I will also touch on a little bit about chaining scripts or linking scripts in transaction version 10. So with that, I am going to get right into it. So chaining scripts and also managing your chained scripts after you have them chained. Just a little bit about me. I've been with CPS for just a little over a year now, but I do have 15 years of experience as an SAP user and support analyst for SAP. With various companies, and I've been using WINSHUTTLE suite of products for 7 years now, and I was also the leader of the Wisconsin WINSHUTTLE user group while I was still with Johnsonville Sausage. So, a little bit of introductions. I think everybody is on mute. You're in listen. You should be in listen-only mode. If you do have any questions, type them into the chat window. I'm opening that right now just to make sure that I can see that. So if I run into anything, if I go over anything too fast, feel free to type that in, and I'll do my best to try to notice that and answer any of those questions. So what are some of the benefits of chaining scripts? So it obviously allows you to build an entire business process using WINSHUTTLE. It'll give you the opportunity to have multiple transactions run in succession, and you can do that by just clicking the run button one time. You can also map each field or various fields in each of those individual transactions into one data file. So for example, if you're going to use, let's say, vendor number in 3 different scripts that you're chaining together, you can map that all to one column in your Excel file, which can really streamline the data entry process, and it creates kind of an app for the user, or kind of your own T-code, if you will, by combining these several different smaller processes into one overall business process. So where do you chain scripts? If we're working in version 11, so that's Studio 11, you're going to find that on the Run tab, and it's going to be the Chain Script button up under your script actions in the ribbon. And it's highlighted in red in that first image. Underneath that, if we're working in transaction version 10, it's going to be in the advanced run options on the run screen of your transaction program. As far as managing chain scripts and determining how they're going to run, when we're working in version 11, you can see in the image that you can click the run settings, and there's 3 options. You can have all of the settings, the run settings, which is your start and end row, the sheet that you're using as far as your data sheet, and so on. You can have all of those things run from the first script, so you just set it in the first script, and every script that is chained will utilize those settings. You can have it run from the individual scripts, so you set it up in each individual script as you create your scripts, and then you choose this setting, and it will use the run settings in each individual script. Or if you click custom, you can go into a long list of all the different available settings, and you can set whether or not the setting runs from the first script or if it will run from the individual script. So that allows you to do a combination of first script and individual script based on the particular setting you want. So for example, you might want to use the same sheet, so you set that at the first script, and then you might want to use a different start and end row, so you do that all from individual script. And I'll demonstrate that in just a few minutes. When we talk about version 10, though, just know that version 10 is managed in the advanced run options right where you link your next script, and you have to manage that. I mean, you can set all the settings in the first script, but anything else would need to be managed in the subsequent scripts, and you then have to open those scripts in order to do that. And I'll also demonstrate that and give a much more clear picture of what I'm talking about. Some tips for success, just to kind of help you as you go to create your scripts and think about chaining scripts together. Make sure you plan your mapping as you create each of your individual scripts. So if I'm going to reuse, like we said, vendor number or material number, or whatever fields you plan to use in several different scripts, kind of plan that out as you're mapping each script, because when you create your individual script, you will map that to an Excel file, and when you go to create your next one, you'll have to map that to another Excel file. You can use the same one, but it's just good to kind of plan it out ahead of time. One of the things I like to do is, if I know I'm going to build an Excel data template and then I'm going to create several scripts that I'm going to map to it, I like to build the template first, and then when I create my script, when I do my recording and I get to the mapping phase, I will then just map to that Excel file that I've created. That way I know what column I want to go to, and I don't have to worry about not having an available column because I didn't think about reusing a field, or a field that I wasn't sure I was going to use. So I like to do that ahead of time. Another thing to consider, and we're going to talk about this when I do the demonstration, is what will happen in script B if a record in script A fails. So what you have to understand about chain scripts is, in script A, your very first script, WINSHUTTLE is going to go through and run every record in your Excel file. Then it will move to script B and run every record in your Excel file. So it doesn't run script A for record 1, and then script B for record 1, and then script C for record 1. It runs script A for all your records, and then script B for all your records. So you have to understand that if something errors out in script A, and you need, for example, maybe you're creating a vendor, you need a vendor number, you're creating a material, and you need something out of the log column. If it fails, it's going to then fail in your second script too. So you have to consider that. Now, there's certain circumstances where, whatever you do in script A isn't going to affect script B, so it's not that big of a deal. And we're going to see that in the demo as well. Okay. And then also, this is very critical. Test each individual script before combining them together in a chain script, because it's a lot easier to test them individually and know that they're working versus trying to test them once they're all chained together, or have to pull them apart to test them. Now, WINSHUTTLE version 11 makes the testing process easier, but it's just good to know that you're going in with a good script, and that's one less thing you have to kind of troubleshoot. So those are the three things I think are just the top tips that I can give you for success. And if we follow those, I think you're going to have a lot of fun chaining scripts together, because it is a really cool feature that WINSHUTTLE offers. So what I'm going to do now is jump into the demo. So this is kind of the exercise that we're going to run through. And what we're going to get out of this is we're going to understand how to chain scripts together. We're going to understand how those errors can affect subsequent scripts and how to manage them. Okay, and then we're going to understand how to set up our individual script run settings. So I'm going to go through that in version 11. I'll also touch on it a little bit in version 10. So with that said, if you want to follow along and you have the ability to open up Studio 11, feel free to do that right now. I'm going to actually jump over there and get that going myself. So, live demo. This should always be interesting. So what I'm going to do is now switch to Studio 11. And hopefully everybody can still see that. But what I'm going to do first is, the number one thing here for everybody to understand is there's an assumption that scripts are already mapped. So I have a few scripts kind of pre-made that I'm going to now chain together. Okay. This is just going to be an introduction to chaining scripts together. We're also going to throw in some if conditions later on to manage what happens when a script fails. But for right now, I'm just going to open up a script and then create my chain, and then we're going to test it, and then we'll get into some if conditions, how to prevent any unwanted running of records if a previous script failed. And we'll also look at how to set up our run settings, and then we'll take a look at version 10 just for those who are still on version 10 if you wanted to know how to chain scripts using that particular application. So first thing I'm going to do is go to Open, and then I'm going to locate my file. In this case, I'm just going to navigate using the computer. So I'll go to Desktop where I've saved my stuff. I'm going to start out with ME11. Open that up because the scenario here is we're going to create a purchase info record. Then we're going to create or update the source list, and then we're going to update the material master. We're going to do that all as one process. So as you can see, I have a pre-made Excel file here. And again, when we change scripts, we're going to go to the Run tab. Okay, just make sure that I have my run settings how I want them. And then again, it's under the script actions in the ribbon. It's called Change Scripts. So I'll click that, and it's going to pop open this dialog box. And from here, I can start adding my scripts. And you do that by just simply clicking the Add button. And then I'm going to navigate to the second script in my chain. In this case, it's going to be my ME01. So I'll open that. Oh, I went to the wrong file. That's one thing too to mention. So I think what I did is, as I was testing this beforehand, and this is, I'm glad that came up, I actually accidentally saved that as a version 10 script, and you cannot chain scripts that are version 10 and 11 together. They all have to be version 11 if you're working in Studio 11, or if you're in Studio 10, they all have to be version 10. So no worries though, I do have another copy of that, so I will just open that up. I'll just run in here and grab this. Then I'll grab my ME01 from here. We're good. And I'll add the second one, or the third one I should say. And hopefully I can just grab that out of here. Perfect. Okay, so now we have our chain scripts, or a chain of scripts created. So we now set our run settings. I'm going to use all from first script, but another option, as we mentioned before, is all from individual script. So what that's going to do is, the way that I have my run settings in each script, I just click the little cog wheel and it's going to show me my settings. Okay, so I can see all my settings here. And if I click the cog wheel on the second script, it'll show me the settings for that script as well, and then my third one. Now you notice this all appears to be disabled. It's grayed out, and that's true. I can view my settings for each individual script here, but I cannot change them. If I wanted to change it, I'd have to actually open the script and change those settings. Okay, another thing I want to show you, which is really kind of neat, is if I had accidentally, here I'm just going to remove these scripts. Okay, so if I add, let's say I accidentally added my MM02 script, okay, and then I added my ME01 script. Got to dig a little further for that one. Okay. If I had accidentally added those in that order, and I said, oh no, I need to run my MM02 script last, I can just use this arrow right here and shift that down, and now they're in the right order. So that's a great feature that makes things a lot easier. I don't have to open up each of these individual scripts and change the link like I would have to do in version 10, and I'll show that after we're done with this demo. So that's nice. Now, one thing to understand is that whatever script you want to start with in your chain, whatever the first script is, that's the script you have to open and build your chain from. You notice the arrows are disabled here. I cannot move the first script up or down. It just has to remain the first script. But all the other scripts I can move as needed. So, you know, I can move the MM02 back up. I can move the ME01 down. You'll notice that I cannot move the ME01 up to the first one. Again, that's disabled because my ME11 script must remain the first script because that's the script that I opened. Okay. Once you have your scripts how you want them, you can hit save, and then now your script chain is saved. You want to make sure that you have the right data file. In this case, I'm not sure if that's the right one, so I'm just going to make sure that I have the one I want. I'm just going to navigate to it. So I'm going to use my exercise here. It says, do you want to save the changes to the other script? I'm just going to say no. And as you can see, it's a little bit different because I do have my log column headers here. So now I know that I'm using the right file. I'm going to unlock the headers. Okay. Now I have my data in here. It's set up the way that I want, so I'm actually okay with everything. And I'm going to go ahead and run this file now. So when we run, obviously we're going to hit test, and if you had this published out to your user governance site, that might say run. I don't have this published. I'm just running it off the desktop, so mine says test. And as I test that, it would also ask me to log into SAP if I had not done so, but I am logged into SAP right now. So now it's just going through and it's running ME11, and again, it's going to run every single record in this script when I run ME11, and then it'll switch to ME02, so it'll run it again, all the records. And it did not find the data file, so it canceled the run. Okay, so that being said, we have to take a look at what's going on in our chain script. So one thing I'm going to do real quick is just clean up that little issue that I created for myself earlier. And I am going to come into this script here, and I'm going to remove the ME02 script. I'm going to go ahead and jump back to my desktop and just get the right script here so that I know I'm using what I need to use. Okay, so now I have my ME02 in there. Close that up. I'm actually going to remove that. Okay, but again, it's my last one. I need it to be my second one, so I'll move that up. I think, yeah, so I'm going to save that. I'm going to go right ahead and save my transaction script, and I'm going to jump into that ME02, and I think the error that I got was related to not being pointed to the right data file. So I'm going to go ahead and open my ME01 script, and I'm going to point that at the correct data file, and I think that'll alleviate any other error that I might run into. And as you can see, this is not at all what I wanted to be pointing at. So I'm just going to open up the right data file. I'm going to go ahead and save both those first, save the script file. Okay, I'm going to also, just to make sure, open up my MM02 file. Make sure that's pointed where I want it. Okay, that looks good. As you can see, this is the file that we were just working with, so we're good there. And now I can jump back to my ME11 and we can get going here. Okay, so hopefully we are done with our live demo fun. And again, if we check our chain scripts, it's still there, so we're good to go. Just close that, and now let's give this another run here. So again, it's going to run the it's running into the ME01, and it wants me to log in. Here, we're going to try this. Studio is giving me a bit of a problem. So we'll restart it. Just like all the IT guys say, right? Restart it, then we'll be fine. Okay, in the meantime, while we're waiting for Studio 11 to come back up, I will quickly jump over to transaction 10 and just kind of walk through where we manage our chain script. So, and that came up faster than I thought, but here we are. So we're in version 10 here, okay? And when we're in the run screen, okay, after we've opened up a script, we're in our run screen. Okay, this is where we would set our run settings. If we click open this pane here, this advanced options pane, within there is where we can link our transaction script. So all we simply do is check this box, and then we navigate to the script that we would like to chain to. And then here we can say, okay, carry the setting for the file. So use the same file in all my scripts, use the same sheet, and use the same start and end row. Now, what you could do is just use the same file, and maybe you want it to be a different sheet and the same start and end row. But then within each individual script, so I'd then have to open up this next script. I'd have to then, make sure I navigate to the proper sheet here, if that makes any sense. So this is where it's done, and these are where your run settings are managed in version 10. Okay. Now again, all of the scripts that I am chaining in here need to be version 10. They can't be version 11 because it just won't work, as we saw. And then you just have to make sure that you have all your settings within each individual script as you need them. Okay, so just wanted to quickly show that while we were waiting for Studio to come back up. Okay, so we're in Studio version 11 now. Sorry for all the jumping around. So just work through these technical difficulties. And I am going to open up my ME11 test script. Okay, I'm going to go to my Run tab. Just going to double check my chain script, and we want to run all from the first script. And actually, that's a good double check because I think that was my problem, and that's why I was getting those errors. So as I was demonstrating all the different options here, I must have managed to go back to all from individual scripts. So I want all from first script. Save. And now I'm just going to clear this out so we can clearly see that it ran. So clear contents. Okay. Unlock my headers. Save. Save. And we're going to test. And because I logged out of Studio, it's now going to ask me to log back in. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. That'll just take 1 second, and then it'll go through and do our run. One other thing I will point out as it's going through and validating and getting the run started is we've noticed that our first script, ME11, errored out on both of the T codes that we ran, or both of the records that we ran. That's actually intentional. I know that purchase info record already exists, and I wanted that to happen to be able to demonstrate what happens down the line if we have errors, right? So in this particular instance, when we go in and run ME01, it changes the source list, and then when it jumps to MM02, what we're going to see is that it's going to change, or it might not make any changes depending on if this data was already in there as far as the purchase order rounding value. But what we're going to see is that it's going to be successful here as well. Now, that might be a good thing, that might be a bad thing. In this case, that's a good thing because I can't create another purchase info record, and it stops me from doing that. But maybe I didn't want the source list to get changed if that failed. Maybe I didn't want my material masters updated if that failed. But it happened anyway, so we have to understand that if this fails and we don't want these things to happen, we have to do something about that. Okay? So as you can see, this failed, and then the source list was updated, the materials were changed, But again, maybe I don't want that to happen. Maybe I don't want these records to be run if something in the subsequent script errored out. So how do we handle that? Well, I think the best way to take care of that is you'll notice that I'm using the error indicator that shows color. That can all be managed in your files, and I'm just going to jump into the files real quick, or the file settings, your options real quick. So when I go into options, I'm going to go to log and errors, and you see I have the radio button highlighted for the error highlighting in colors. Okay, I'm going to choose prefixes, and as you can see then, my prefix is ERR colon. So it's going to say ERR colon and then whatever the error message is after that. So I'm going to choose that, and I'm going to hit OK. Then within my next script in the chain, so just quickly jumping back to the run screen, I'm going to go into my ME01 script, and I'm going to put an if condition around that. And I'm also going to do that in the MM02 script, and that way if I get in a message back in my first column that's ERR colon, it's not going to run my source list. And then the if condition that I'm going to put in the MM02 script will be based off of the ME01 script. And that if condition is going to say if this is blank, or if this is equal to ERR, or this is equal to ERR, then I don't want to run this. So what I'm going to do is save my file as it is now. So I'm saving my script file here, saving my data file here. Now another way to do that is in File, Save, and I could save both files. But since I just saved them, they are saved. Now what I'm going to do though is open my ME01, which is my second script in my chain. And when that opens up, I'm going to go into my Map tab. Okay. And now I need to go to the Expert View, because if I want to add an if condition, that's something that's done in the Expert View. Okay. I'm going to choose the first row underneath my my log fields here. So right now you see a run log, you see extended run log. If I had validation turned on, there would also be a validation log. Okay, I'm going to leave that off. So I'm going to start on row 3. I'm going to hold down the shift key, go to row 16, and that's going to select everything underneath my log columns, and that's where I'm going to apply my if condition. If condition is found up in the ribbon. I select that, and now based on column H, because that's my log column for my first script, so I'm going to base it on column H. Click go. If that starts with ERR colon. Okay. Now you'll notice I put those in double quotes. That you need to do that. If you just type in ERR colon, it won't work. You have to put in double quotes if you're going to compare it to a text. And then hit OK. And it's going to create that if condition around the entire script other than the log column. Okay. So now I'm going to go to save that. So I'm going to save the script file. We're good. Now I'm going to open up my MM02 script. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go to the Map tab. Okay. I am going to select the Expert View. And again, the first row underneath my log fields, I'm going to select that, hold down the Shift key, and go to my very last row so that I get everything. Okay, and again, I'm going to choose Create If Condition. Now, in this case, this is my last script, so I want this to be based off of the second script in the chain. So that's going to be column I. Okay, that's the log column for my ME01 script. So column I, I'll choose that and go, is equal to, and again, well, not equal to, we want it, does it start with? So it starts with ERR colon, but I'm also going to use this little plus button and add another condition. You know, you'll notice in this condition it says or here. You can change it to and, but we want or. So I want it to only do this, or not do this if it starts with, and actually I think we need to have it does not start with ERR. Okay, so I'll have to go correct that in the other one. But, so it does not start with ERR, or if column I is not empty. Okay, so the only way I want this script to run is if column I does not start with ERR, or if it's not empty. So if it's empty, I don't want it to happen. If it starts with ERR, I don't want it to happen. Okay, so we'll go ahead and click OK. And we're going to go to File, save that script file. Okay, hit OK. And then I'm also going to go correct my mistake from the other one. Oops. So in ME01, I just have to quickly update my if condition because I chose the wrong operator. So in my mapping, in the expert view, I can just simply click on this if condition. It'll pop open the box. So I only want this to run. I only want this script to run if it does not start with ERR. Okay. All right. So we can save that. Okay, and then we can go back to our very first script. And that's one thing that I didn't mention, kind of take it for granted, but when you do want to run your chain scripts, you have to do it from the script where you created the chain. And in this case, that's our ME11 script. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and clear out our data. So I'm going to clear contents, and then just because I'm a little bit picky, I'm going to get rid of that color too. Okay, so I can save my file. I'm just going to unlock my headers, go to my Run tab. Okay, now we're ready to run, and what we're going to see is that the first two files, or the first two records in my ME11 script they're going to error out. You're going to see ERR, and then it should not run my second script or my third script for that. So let's see what we get. So we got ERR, ERR. And it changed my source list, which I did not want to happen. Okay, so that shouldn't have happened. I clearly didn't do something correct in my subsequent scripts. We could troubleshoot that, but the main thing to understand here is that you can set an if condition and it will work off of that. I'm not entirely sure what I did wrong. I can take a look real quick at the if condition, but I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this. We'll just try to see if we can figure it out quickly. So column H, I only want this to happen when it does not start with ERR. However, it does. So I'd have to troubleshoot that. It worked before I started the demo. This is what you get when you do live demos sometimes, so you just got to kind of roll with it. But just know that when we do this, that should have absolutely worked. We did get the ERR, and I'll just make this a little bit bigger here. Okay, So it starts with ERR, you know, and if it does start with that, I didn't want this to happen, so does not, should be the only time that would have ran. So again, I'd have to just double check. Perhaps I'm pointing to a different file within my second script. I just have to double check that and see what's going on. But that is the technique that you would use. We just don't have time right now to troubleshoot why that didn't work for us. So I apologize for that. But again, you can utilize the same technique in version 10. It's just when you go to update your mapping, you'd put your if condition around the script and kind of just do the same thing. And within Studio 10, you can do that same thing when you go to your error management. Instead of using a color, you could use a prefix and work through it that way. Okay, so that being said, I am going to jump back to the presentation. So what did we talk about? We talked about, you know, how this feature will allow you to run multiple scripts in sequence, how we can use an if condition to manage the downstream scripts if there's errors and things like that, or if we just don't want them to run based on data and so on and so forth. Now, one thing I will show you, so I'm going to jump into Studio again. Now, here's what happens actually. We'll do it I'll make a change here to my file structure. So I go to desktop. So let's say for some reason somebody moved my my ME21 or my ME01 script. Okay, so let's say somebody moved that on me. Okay, so if I go into my list here, it's not there anymore. Okay, so now when I go to my ME11 script, and if I try to run this right now, it's going to give me an error. It's going to say, hey, I can't find your script. So it's going to start, and then it should. Oh, actually, this is a good thing too. that could have been the other issue. It's not. I thought maybe it was. I thought maybe when I had changed the location of that script before, that I had not changed it back, but clearly I have. So this is what will happen. When it gets to the second script, it's going to say, hey, I can't find this script. So you just click OK. And then you can come into your chain scripts. And now you'll notice that this folder is available, right? It's not available here, not available here. It's available here. So you can specify, okay, here's where I move that script. So now, if I come to find the script and I moved it to my desktop, so it's right here. I click open. Now it's good to go. I click save, and now I could then go ahead and run that. Not going to go ahead and run it again, but you can see that that's what that. If you were wondering what that folder icon was for, that's so you can go ahead and find it if you moved it. Okay, so just kind of getting back to the presentation here. You can use Excel formulas, if conditions, all those kinds of things to get your script to run the way you want it to. And that's pretty much all that I had there. As far as getting help, like obviously we'd have to troubleshoot this script to figure out why. You can go to support.winshuttle.com. There's a lot of good articles there. You can look up information there. You can also check out our YouTube channel, Clear Process Solutions. It features our WEBtips, which is what we're doing now. And then there's also CPS Solution Care that we offer. And if there are any questions, I'm just going to pop the menu open. See, so why do we unlock the headers? We use version 10. Is it necessary in that version as well? So, Rebecca, no, it's not necessary. It's actually, I don't even recall if the headers lock in version 10. I don't think that they do. You don't have to unlock the headers to run it. I just like to because I just know that nothing will get stopped from getting created. Now, when you lock the headers, when the headers are locked, basically what that means is I can't change anything in my my header column. Okay. Now I think WinShuttle can still go and update the log column headers with your runtime and the number of rows and errors and so on and so forth. But I just get in the habit of unlocking them. You might want to have them locked if you want to make sure that your users don't add any columns in here or change the name of a column and so on and so forth. So you don't have to do it. You can run without it. But all that locking the headers does is just make it so that a user can't come in and change the column name or add in different columns and things like that that would affect your mapping. Hope that answered that question. I'm not sure if there are any other questions. If not, yep, no problem, Rebecca. If not, that's really all I had. You know, always check the, and I'm just going to try to minimize that. Put it back where it belongs. So always remember to check clearprocesssolutions.com. We're always making announcements for Lean Utopia sessions, which are generally local to Ohio. Also, WinShuttle user group meetings, and then also you can register for our monthly web tips out there. This month we talked about Studio. Next month we'll probably touch on a Composer topic, and we alternate back and forth as we move through there. And everything that we've done previously, all the recordings for our web tips can be found on our YouTube channel. And as I mentioned before, we also have our CPS Solution Care, and you can see here all of the great things that are offered with Solution Care. A lot of help. We can coach you. We can help you develop scripts. We can help you troubleshoot scripts, all that kind of stuff. I've never heard anybody say anything bad about it. I think a lot of people generally really enjoy the Solution Care. So if you're interested in that, again, head on over to clearprocesssolutions.com and get more information on that. And as far as contacting us, if you need anything from us, this is our information. Other than that, I really would like to thank everybody for their time. I hope that was worthwhile. Hope you took something away from that. Chaining scripts can be a very powerful feature within WinShuttle, and hope everybody's able to move forward and use that from now on. So again, thank you, and hope everybody has a great day.